The Memory of Love, Chapter 45. Worked for Byron, says Seligman. Nothing women love more than a limb. Brings out the maternal side. What do you say we just fix the one? Leave the other. He'll thank us. Find a wife faster than he can run. With his leave due, Seligman is uplifted. A whole month at home, by the end of which Kai knows he will be bored and fractious as a toddler. Seligman's contract to the hospital has just been extended too. Kai knows the reason why, even though Seligman still does not. What do you say, Justina? Seligman wiggles his eyebrows and winks at the new nurse over the top of his mask. Justina giggles through her mask and stares at her toes. A clubfoot. It's a high road to fame and fortune, continues Seligman. Emperor Claudius Dudley more. Goebbels, says Kai. For day lies between them on the operating table, his entire body swaddled in green surgical cloth, his left calf and foot exposed. Seligman flexes the foot this way and that, gives each toe an experimental pull. He turns around to gaze at the x-rays on the board and then bends down to peer closely at Froday's foot. This will take a little time. We'll fix that knee now, as we agreed, and get the big tendon done. That should be straightforward enough. Then go inside the foot and loosen off some of those ligaments. If we need to play around anymore, we can do that when we begin on the other one. That's a few months away at any rate. He tickles the underside of Froday's foot. No giggles? Good. Dreaming of angels. Houston, we have liftoff, and he slips his scalpel through Froday's skin. Mrs. Mara took the news of Kai's leaving better than Kai dared to imagine. She wished Kai luck with his future career and told him she never expected to hold on to him, only hoped that she would, and finally promised to help in any way she could with his application. It had been that bad. Her short-term solution was to approach Seligman and ask him to stay for another 6 months, in which way she'd averted an immediate staffing disaster. But Seligman is in his 70s, long retired, working for the love of orthopedic surgery. He can't stay on forever. 2.5 hours later, they have completed work on the knee and the Achilles tendon. The real work would begin in physiotherapy, of which Froday has months ahead of him. Seligman whistles Elvis's Love Me Tender as he leans forward and inspects the inside of Froday's foot. Hello, he says. What do you say we try switching these two tendons around? Kai nods. The day is coming soon when he will have to tell Seligman that he plans to leave. Seligman, who loves his work, hears almost as much as he loves his own wife. Late in the afternoon, Kai climbs the hill in the garden of the old house. He needs to call his parents, see what they want to do, whether rent it out or board it up. So far, there have been no thieves, not counting the looters during the first invasion when his parents still lived there. This time, he notices a broken window at the back of the house, and it looks like people have been climbing the wall of the garden to collect firewood and fruit from the trees. Very likely. The garden is overrun. The grass has grown so high as to obscure the fact of the terraces. It reaches halfway up the trunks of the candelabra trees. Kai pushes his way towards the veranda, swings himself up and over the low railings. Coming straight from the hospital, he has no key. He wanders around the side of the house. At the corner, he stops. There are scorch marks on the marble floor. An empty pig milk tin rolls in and out of a corner. The big metal kitchen door stands ajar. Silently, he moves forward and enters the kitchen. There is no cooker. The fridge is gone. Old newspapers and plastic bags fill the sink. Kai tries a tap. Nothing. Idly, he tries a light switch and is amazed when the bulb flickers on. The house smells of mildew and dust. The door of the master bedroom is missing. Inside the bedroom, a mattress lies on the floor. a great scorch mark, like a black petaled flower at its center. Kai tries the drawers of the dresser. For the most part, they are empty. Inside one, he finds an old prescription, and in another, a single gold earring in the shape of a swallow. He recognizes it as belonging to his mother and pulls it in his pocket. He checks the bathroom and then the other rooms, one by one. For several months after his parents' departure, Kai had stayed on in the empty house, alone with a three-piece suit and a television. The only item of furniture he hadn't given away. He passes the room where his sister used to sleep. The room at the end of the corridor is where he spent most of his growing years. He'd left behind a full set of Encyclopedia Britannica, purchased by his father by mail order and appropriated by Kai, moved from the family room into his bedroom. What innocence, he thinks, in the idea that the sum of human knowledge could be held in 20-bound volumes. When Kai had spoken to his sister by telephone, they'd agreed to keep the news of his leaving from their parents until it was confirmed. She'd sounded serious rather than elated. Had asked him if he was sure. Yes, Kai had said. Yes, he was sure. Almost telepathically, she'd asked him whether he had news of Nineveh. No, Kai lied. Nineveh, she'd looked just the same, and for a moment, the moment before she saw him, it seemed to him she looked happy. Then she had turned towards where he stood in the middle of the quadrangle, exposed body and soul. He watched her smile vanish. They greeted each other with the formality of lovers whose wound is not yet healed. So unlike Nineveh, the careful solicitous voice asking after his mother, his father, and even his sister with whom she'd rarely seen eye to eye. For so long, he had done everything in his power to avoid thinking about her. Gradually, without realizing it, he'd let her slip back into his thoughts. There was Adrian, standing behind her, a hand on her shoulder, looking from Kai to Nineveh, and back again, the smile slowly setting on his face. What would have happened, Kai wonders, if Adrian had not been there, if they'd been alone. He pushes at the door to the room. The first thing he notices is the smell of sweat and stale cigarette smoke. The windows are closed upon the bed. It's a nest of sheets, and in the corner of the room, a pair of shoes, old-fashioned men's lace-ups that once belonged to his father, cracked and polished. Stuffed with newspaper, books have been removed from the shelves and stacked upon the floor. An empty can serves as an ashtray. From a piece of wire strung from a window bar to a nail onto the wall. A pair of trousers hang. The mystery of the missing fridge is solved. Kai crosses the room and pulls hard at the door. The suction yields suddenly and audibly. The fridge is empty. The stench from inside appalling. He follows the lid to the plug lying on the floor. Then he crosses to a window and pushes it open. A sound makes him turn quickly. The bathroom door is open, where before it was closed. Somebody is watching him from the darkness. Who's that? Says Kai. Hey you! He moves towards the bathroom. The face disappears. Kai reaches out for the door. But before his hand touches it, a person dashes past him, knocking his arm aside. A boy. Kai snatches at his shirt, but the boy wrenches himself free and races for the door. Kai goes after him and grabs his hand. Hey, he says, softly this time. Stop. For a moment, the boy looks him full in the face and Kai sees something familiar in him. He relaxes his grip. The boy is motionless. His eyes never leave Kai's face. Suddenly, he pulls away and makes for the door. This time, Kai abandons the effort of following. He notices the boy's fingernails, his hand upon the door. Fingernails painted pink. And then he is gone. Kai stands still and excels. Now he's forgotten what he'd been doing here in the first place. Yes, he thought he might take the encyclopedia home for a bus. But there's nothing here for a bus or for him. As he leaves, he closes the door behind him, makes his way through the house, leaving the doors open as he found them, and descends the hill to where he parked Old Faithful in the shade of an avocado tree. On the drive back down the hill towards home, Kai places the boy, the son of one of the old cooks. Kai's parents had paid his school fees for a few years, until Kai's mother sacked the father for pilfering. He stops the car and sits for several seconds with his hands on the steering wheel, then reverses up the hill. He walks into the house, to his old bedroom, plugs the fridge into the socket, and switches it on. And this time, when he leaves, he doesn't look back. Kai enters his cousin's house to find himself surrounded by noses. In the middle of the room, two of his aunts appear to be pleading or possibly remonstrating with his cousin. His cousin, meanwhile, is shaking her head, holds her hands up in front of her as though fending them off. Everybody is talking at once. Of Abbas, there is no sign. It takes Kai 10 minutes to discover what has happened. Abbas had sworn at his mother. Now he has locked himself in his bedroom. The exact word he'd used, was sufficiently bad for his mother to propose a beating. The aunts were begging for mercy on Abbas's behalf. Neither spoke English and so could have no idea of the meaning of the word, for otherwise they would most certainly have joined in the call for a beating. As it is, neither Kai nor his cousin is inclined to be the one to explain to them, and so a compromise is reached. Kai knocks on the bedroom door and softly calls Abbas's name. No answer. Kai turns the handle, but the door doesn't yield. Abbas had drawn the bolt on the other side. Abbas, he calls. Come and open the door. Silence. Will you let me in? Your mother wants me to talk to you. The sound of footsteps. Abbas opens the door. He looks small and serious, worried but with an overtone of defiance. Kai slips inside the room and Abbas closes the door after him and slides the bolt. They sit side by side on the bed. That was bad. What you called your mother. Abbas shrugs. Well, wasn't it? Abbas doesn't reply, and Kai senses he has no idea of the meaning of the word for which he is now in so much trouble. At least you must know why you did it. Your mother asked you to help her with the church shares, and you disappeared instead. That's not good either, is it? Abbas shrugs again. Kai exhales, lightly with frustration. What's up, my friend? All she does is go to church. Who, your mother? Your mother is a Christian. That's a good thing, isn't it? Abbas shrugs again. Kai says, you don't want her to go to church? I don't like them coming here. All they do is pray and then take all our money. They used to come once a week. Now they come nearly every day, and I don't like them. Kai couldn't agree more, but it would not do to say so. Instead, he asks, what would you like to happen instead? Abbas shakes his head and shoves his hands between his knees. Well, the boy mumbles something so low Kai hardly hears it. I want her to play with me. I see. He puts an arm around Abbas. Well, you are getting a bit old to play, aren't you? I mean, stay with me. He tails off. You want me to spend more time with your mother? Is that it? Abbas nods. I see. Kai looks across the top of the boy's head, across the room. There on the windowsill, the row of origami animals he has made for Abbas over the years, faintly red with dust. He says, I think it gives your mom comfort to pray. And I think that's something we should respect, whatever we think ourselves. We must just be patient and polite, even to the preacher. He nudges Abbas lightly, and the boy giggles and then grows serious. What does she need comfort for? There it is again. Soon there will be no avoiding it. Abbas believes his father died a natural death, and a peaceful one, which is as much as he has been told. Kai needs to talk to his cousin to make her listen. For now, he says, we'll talk about that another time. Meanwhile, you apologize to your mother, and then you and I can do something. Abbas turns, looks at him and says, but you are going away too. You are going to live in America. Well, I'm not going anytime soon, replies Kai, Until now, he hadn't realized how much Abbas has been quietly working out for himself. And only several hours later, by which time the church congregation had departed and Abbas was fast asleep, does Kai realize exactly what Abbas had said? Going away too? Without even knowing it, Abbas has said, going away too.